All right, guys, how are you? Oh my God, this kind of sucks. So all morning, and I guess partially this afternoon, I've been fighting with this machine because for some reason I may have a virus. I may have something that's conflicting. I don't know, right? That's with my PC. So eventually, I got frustrated, and rather than keep stabbing at it and see what works and what doesn't, I just decided to reformat, right? So right now, next to me, my PC is now resetting from factory default, right? So it should take a couple hours to put back how it was, but in the meantime, we're gonna use the Mac, right? So we're gonna use my Mac laptop, and it should be able to do the job just the same as you would do it in a PC, right? So let's. There's nothing different, of course. It's all the same. Really, the only big changes or big differences is that it has an option key as opposed to an alt key, right? On the Mac keyboard. That's it. That's I don't. It's funny because in the past I've taught whether After Effects on a PC or a Mac, and when I hear a student give me an excuse that they didn't know how to do it because obviously they only know how to use After Effects on a PC, but they don't know how to use it in a Mac. I never understood how the logic works. I mean, so if you throw a one button difference, it throws you off from the whole program. It doesn't make sense, right? Anyways, leaving that as it is. I mean, unfortunately, that's just how nature and technology works, right? Somehow I might have caught a bug. I have no idea. I think it's more of a hardware conflicting with software as opposed to getting viruses, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna start the tutorial because obviously I'm gonna be showing you how to use more of Mocha, right? More Mocha. So, and for that we're gonna need to create some sort of a reference. I do have an image here, and it's said it's AVI, but it doesn't matter, I guess, where the source is. As long as it's H.264, which is already compressed a bit, but in this case it doesn't make a difference. The size is a little bit bigger than 1080, right? In 1920, and the frame rate is 30.012 frames per second. Now that's the wrong frame rate that we're going to be using. So instead, we're going to fix this metadata by clicking this little button right here, and then type in 23.976 frames per second, right? There we go. So now that we have that fixed, it tells you right here now the new frame rate. Obviously it won't change the audio because the audio is going to stay the same. It's just going to drop frames to make it 23, not 30, right? Alright, so I'm going to drag and drop right into my comp. So all this metadata gets transferred into my new composition, right? So you'll notice that even here's a new comp icon, and here's down here's MPEG-4 or MP4, I mean, and then it names it the same. So I'm going to just rename it, right? So I'm going to click it and type enter, right? And I'm going to call this zombie, right? So I'm going to turn myself into a zombie. And you'll notice that my composition here is also renamed itself to zombie, right? Okay. So I'm going to jump right into different methods of tracking a face. So in After Effects, it's very good when it comes to tracking a human face. So I can actually use the masking tools and tell it to track whatever I tell it. But before I do though, I'm gonna just find a good spot. So maybe right here. I'm gonna hit the letter B as in Bob, and then I'm gonna move all the way to maybe 8.5 or maybe close to 9, and then hit the letter N for Nancy. Right. And so now I'm just gonna put that. Okay, so I basically set my in and out points in so that we're only gonna track this area and then trim the work area. This is the work area. I know I've said it before, but I'll repeat it again. And put your mouse right there, right in the gray area, and right click, trim comp to work area. So now it made the in and out points as a start and end of this clip. Okay, so now I'm gonna go up here and pick, I'm gonna select my ellipse tool, and imagine there's a box around my face, right? Imaginary box. So what I would do is I would put my mouse right on the top left corner and drag out a circle right around my face. It doesn't have to be precise, but it can be pretty much roughly, I guess, the size of my face, right? All right, so now what happens is that if you now scroll the side here, if it allows us to, right? There should be let me just make some of these smaller, because obviously they're very big. Or better yet, just go to Windows, this is better, and go to Tracker, right? So now we're seeing the tracker down at the bottom of the screen. It obviously it's right in the corner, but I need it to be more noticeable. So I'm gonna make it more like this. Zoom out, or just hit comma and it'll zoom out the screen, right? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna click the method right there. You're gonna track, because right now it's tracking position, rotating, scale, or that, not necessarily in that order that I said, but that's what we're gonna do. And so you're gonna pick the last two, which the first one here is face tracking, but it's only the outline of the face. The second one's more advanced, because it actually not only it records the outline of your face, but it also records or tracks, the detail features. So let's go with that one. And so that's now set, right? So that's all we need to do. So now I'm gonna because I have my marker right at the very end, I'm gonna do this backwards. Okay, so, and here we go. And you'll notice that it does a very good fine job of tracking features, right? It's tracking the corners of my mouth. It's also tracking the top and bottom of my lips, the nostrils, tip of the nose, the bridge of the nose, and then it does 3 for the eyes, right? Or 6 in total, I guess. And also the eyebrows, right? Now it also puts 2 for the cheeks, which is right here, right? This is for the cheeks, and then at the bottom it puts for the chin, right? And I think it also puts some on the side here as well, right? So it's almost finished, and once it's finished, then we can actually scrub back and forth to see how accurate it really tracked the face. Look at that, right? So we missed a frame there, so I'm going to just forward tracking. There we go. Hopefully it'll pick that up. There's one track that it missed. Let's do it a bit further back. There we go, right? Okay, so we're done, right? Now, we have this tracked exactly how we want, and we can do now, we can hit the letter, or we can hit enter, right? And rename this and just call it, we're gonna call it face, right? Sorry, I had to stop the video and fix my PC. This is so ridiculous. I'm just still formatting as we speak. Okay, and just name it face, and of course let's duplicate it by hitting Control D, right? So you have face 2, bring it down, that way you have the face on top and face 2 at the bottom. We're gonna rename it to full clip, right? Something to identify it with, and maybe change the color also. I'm gonna change it to like purple or something, so I know that's a little bit different, right? Second, I'm gonna next go to the full clip, hit U, so I can see all the layers. So there's masks and also face track. I'm just deleting both of those, right? So I need just the face and then the full clip. So anything we put in between is just sandwiching the effect, right? Okay, so let's do the next step, right? So we're gonna, because this guy's a zombie, right? This is obviously called zombie comp. We're going to change the face color. We'll use a color correction, and we'll use a hue and saturation. So you'll notice that the minute I decrease the saturation down, the face goes white, almost to white, right? So it looks more pale, right? I look like I need help, right? So what we can do next is I'm going to just show you that you know, you can actually fix it a little bit more. If I go more to purple, then there's a cutoff. Like when you turn off full clip, you'll see the cutoff because of the mask. So I'm going to hit M once and M again, and it closes it. Double click the letter M twice, right? Fast. It opens up all the mask channels that masks usually contain, right? So the expansion is the first one I'm going to bring back. So probably like about 19, negative 19, and then a bit of feathering, right? So now it's going to blend a lot better when we turn on the other layer, right? So that looks good, right? Looks very good. Okay, so now another thing is that to keep in mind is that if you hit the letter U, right, what's going to open up for us is all the different channels for the face track points. The right pupil is this guy right here, right? This guy right in the eye is the right. I mean, if I'm sitting in front of you, this would be my right eye, right? And this is the left. Okay, so what we want to do at this point is I'm going to just fix the colors that I'm using, because the purple is not really what I want. I want more to be more yellowish, and bring down the saturation to the point where I look sick, like I have no blood in my skin. And then we're gonna make a solid layer. So I'm gonna hit Control Y. I'm gonna call it eye white out, right? I'm gonna get rid of one of my eyes, so it looks like I lost my vision with one eye. So here it is, right? Now I'm gonna redo that, and I'll tell you why. Command or Control Y, white, eye white out, right? because this dimensions is a little bit too big, I would say. I can afford to make it something like 500 pixels by 500 pixels, and then I can hit OK, and that's going to be the size. That's better, right? And the other thing is, I'm going to put a circle elliptical tool right in the middle, roughly, right? So again, imagine a box around the eye, and then just as you're dragging out a mask, hold the shift key, and it constrains it, right? So that's how good as it's gonna get. And now we can go ahead and hit the letter P for the white out layer, so we can see the position, right? So the position, we're gonna now script it to go with the right pupil, right? So here's how you do this. Hold the Alt key and click it, and click while holding Alt, position, right, for the white out. Next, grab the pick whip in the expression area, not this one right here, because that's for the parent and link. It's this guy, and then you bring it down to where is it? Yes, the right pupil. And now it wrote a script automatically for us, so that now if I just deselect that, the eye will move, right? The white out, right, will move with the eye, right? So I'm going to zoom into the eye. I'm going to hit period on the keyboard, and now, whoops, sorry, I had to fix the mic. Okay, so hit period, and then now you can move directly to the eye, right? You can move this around to the mask, right? So now, right, it's working. Double click it, double click the point, and you get a bounding box. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to hold the shift key. Oops. See, I did a mistake. I'm supposed to click this first so that you can shrink it, then hold shift. But now it's moving it to the bottom right point, and then hold Alt, right? And then you can shrink this guy as much as you want, or make it easier on yourselves. Let me see. Just trying to turn this off because I don't know how to turn it off. Yeah, no, I turned it off. It was a screen capture program thingy that appeared. Yeah, I know you didn't see it, but I did. Anyways, so if I want to scale it, I can just adjust the scale as well. It's going to scale it towards the pivot point, right? It's actually zoomed to the center, right? That's incredible. So you'll see that it's not right on the actual pivot point that's linked on, so we gotta do it by eye. Double click the path, and then you can just move the mask right above the eye, right? So I think it needs to be moved more to the side. Double click, there we go. And then if we wanted to create, let's say, I'm going to zoom into the eye more by hitting period, right? I'm going to draw out another mask, right? So right here, 1, 2, then just stretch it out, right? 3, up to this point, and 4, and then 5. This one makes it 6, right? So now we're gonna just adjust some of the handles, and here for the whiteout we have now 2 masks, right? This one is for the pupil, so I'm going to just call it pupil. Yep. Okay. And then this one here is going to be the shape of the eye, right? Eye shape. Oh, that's what happens. Okay. I'm going to have to leave it at mask 1 because every time I hit the S or H or something like that, it sort of does something different with my screen capture program. So I'll leave it like that for now. So now I'm gonna make it into what's called intersection, right? So it basically only reveals between these two shapes, right? The intersection shape, right? So now you'll see that we have pretty much that eyeball, right? Now, of course, we have to move it a bit, and we have those areas where the eye closes, right? So we'll zoom in more, period, right? And then just select the layer again and make sure that we move the mask, right? So we'll start it off to a point where everything looks good. We're gonna move I'm gonna just move, I guess, hold the space bar. Oh, spacebar doesn't do that anymore. Okay, so we'll just pick this and go back to the beginning, right? Because you can see the eye is not exactly right in place. So now we're gonna go ahead and pick the masks. So we'll leave that alone. We'll select this. Yeah, so it's gonna move it a bit out. You gotta be very up close to do this because if they're overlapping the points, they're gonna be a bit of a pain to move one or the other. So you have to sort of do it this way. Now I'm gonna use feathering, so I'm gonna hit F for feather, and so I'm seeing now the feather here, and we can sort of adjust it a bit to blend the shape, and also the letter T to bring down the opacity, because I still want to see some of the reflection. And if it's, you know, I'm seeing black a bit, so I can also just drag out the pupil mask, right? Because I do want to see some of the eye, not fully, right? And let's go back. We need another mask, so I'm gonna select this. The eye shape, we're gonna feather that out too, because that's 0. I want to do a negative though, so instead of using the value, I'm gonna leave it at 0, and we're gonna use, if you hold the mouse button, then you can go and pick feather, a mask feather tool, and now you can go ahead and pull this out the other way, right? Right, so yeah, so we gotta fix the eye, and that's very easy, right? The bulk of the work is done already, right? Which is pretty much using the tracking, right? Can you imagine doing this without tracking though? That would be a lot of work, right? So I'm gonna just move this a bit lower, and then bring this a little bit up as well. And this is being animated, by the way, because the keyframe is turned on. Oops, mask. It's not animated, so I'm gonna turn this on now, right? So M for mask path, and then you can animate both shapes in case you have to adjust them. So just move it over and then just bring it down a little bit, right? And then go a few frames, and just move the top. It's hard to see the yellow against skin, so I'm going to change it to something dark. Right, and then hit OK. There we go, right? Just bring it down. Right, do it real quick. Mask path. So I should have I think the bottom it might be okay. But just for the heck of it, I'm gonna change the color pink to like a dark green or something, so it stands out. Now you can see it better. So I'm gonna just move this out for a minute. Right. So I'm just gonna move it more here. Bring this down like so. I'm trying to basically recreate the shape of the eye, right? So this obviously needs a little bit of work. So double click one of the points and then you can just move it manually real quick, all the points. Same thing with the pupil, right? Once more, we can actually select both of them and do in one shot, so rather than moving one and then the next one, right? This needs help here, right? Okay, so that looks okay. Just gonna fix this point. Right, just to make sure it lines up. I think this is gonna be a problem though, because you can see the bottom of the eyelid, so it's gonna move it up a bit. Don't be lazy, guys. Right, take your time. There's no rush to get this finished right away. The whole point is to do it right the first time around, or at least close to the final, right? So we're just gonna go through some of the frames here. Make sure this is gonna look great, right? So there's a blink here that I missed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock onto the green mask, and then right at this point I'm gonna just close this guy and move it around so that it fits right in that shape. And see how that works, right? So I'm gonna go a frame before, because you can see some of the black right here, 2 frames back, and I'm just gonna select this one point and fix that, right? So let's zoom out again. So it's almost done, right? Obviously, It needs some tweaking in these areas. I'm gonna hit period and see what the problem here. Yeah, so you shouldn't be able to see the eye at this point, right? Or at least a little, just a tiny bit. So like I said, you have to take your time when you're doing this type of work, but the end results will look incredible, right? We can also use a bit more masking or feathering, I mean. So I'm going to just move this a bit further. I don't know why it's jumping like that. It might be the tracker, but we can definitely adjust it though. So obviously this pupil is acting kind of weird. You notice it jumps with 2 frames, right? See that? So how would you fix that? Well, if you go to the right pupil right here, it's these frames that are causing that problem. So if I draw a little box, oops, and undo that. It's kind of tricky, but if I delete, let's say, this frame, right, and then I go ahead and delete the next frame, then I can draw just a little bit more. I can delete just a group of frames. Those are the bad frames, right? It doesn't jump anymore. In fact, no, I'm going to leave those. I am going to fix the eye. And I'm just going to overwrite this there. So I'm going to check it out once more. It's getting better, right? So this here needs help, right? So let's figure this out real quick. Pop, 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 pop. So it could be also, oh yes, okay. Yes, there's one. Okay, so obviously we have to fix or delete some of these, right? So it doesn't jump. Maybe get rid of like 3 frames, maybe 4. We'll get 4 out of the way and just check it out. So up to I guess, get rid of that. There we go, right? And then we're just gonna fix the position. Because this is too low, right? So I'm gonna just put it right around here, double click, move it up. I guess I should have done both of them. Oh well. Right, and then okay. Way better, right? So we're whiting out the eye, the pupil, right? And there's still 1 or 2 frames here that's kind of bad, but it's very easy to fix. Okay, and then you can also play around with more feathering. So F for feathering, and increase it more or decrease it. I need to also increase the expansion, right? And then feather this out more, right? Okay, that looks kind of cheap. So I'm gonna bring the expansion down so it's a little bit more contained, right? Right. So the eyes, obviously we're knocking the eye down. We can also increase the opacity. Although I wouldn't make it 100%. I would bring it down to the point where we barely see the black. Right? That creates sort of a dead look, right, to a person. All right, so we're done with that, and we can then take more layers. Like, for example, we take the face and duplicate it, and we're now going to go to, let me see something here. Zoom in. Right, and then just gonna move this. Okay, so we have a second copy, and so I basically just renamed it to face EX for extreme, right? So because we're gonna do some more details with that, so we have 2 faces, 1 and 2, right? Okay, now I'm gonna redo this layer actually. So grab this, duplicate it, then rename it. So sorry, I'm gonna do it again. Right, phase 2. I'm gonna rename it to phase X, right? And then throw in the curves on that new layer. So select the new layer, then color correction, curves, and then on the second face layer, knock the saturation all the way to -100, so it's completely white. And then the saturation, the curves, midtones, bring it down. Look at the image, right, until you see a lot of freckles, right, starting to appear, more noticeable, right? And then I'm gonna grab the highlights and bring some of the highlighted points right out like that. Maybe bring the midtones a bit higher, right? All right, so now we're gonna go to switches and modes, and then we're gonna play around with different modes, right? So I'm using shift plus or minus, right? And then we can go ahead and start to, this is pretty cool, right? I can definitely make my face more shiny, right? Overlay is not bad, right? It's giving my face some sort of cool tones, but I'm gonna just bring it down a little bit, right? Maybe the opacity to about maybe halfway, right? So I'm trying to utilize some of the areas. I'm gonna bring it to 80% opacity with using an overlay on the face extreme, right? This way it'll sort of start taking all the hidden details in my skin and exaggerating them to make it look more like a zombie, right? Okay, that's looking promising, right? So now we're gonna go to the next step, which is, of course, drawing or I guess adding more layers, right? To give this an even better look, right? So let's look at some of these other layers here. So if you look at this one here, it's a head of lettuce. And then we have also another head of lettuce, right? The splat of blood and also smear, right? So let's start with the lettuce, right? Let's drag and drop it right into underneath the eye, right? And we want to get rid of all the white. So what we can do at this point is we can use multiplying, I believe, right? It gets rid of all the white, and it leaves us with, obviously, with the lettuce. Now I'm gonna undo it because this is not necessarily what we want to do. So I'm gonna get rid of that. We're gonna use yet another solid layer. This time I'm gonna match my composition size so it goes back to how it was, and I'm gonna call this I guess not a grotesque, there's a word for it that I want to look for. Let's call it flesh, right? Flesh. Okay, the color is irrelevant. This guy doesn't matter, right? Sorry, let's fix something for a minute. There, right? So here's flesh. So I'm gonna turn it off, right? And you can see it's on top of my face. I'm gonna go back to the body, the full clip, and there should be under effects. If not, then there's a good opportunity to track that layer. So I'm gonna just solo it out, right? And this is where we go to Mocha, right? So we're gonna go right to animation, and then go right to where it says Mocha, right? So this is it. Here's Mocha, and all you have to do now is click the button, and I'm just gonna ignore the register for now. And this layer, don't collect, not just collect, and make it full screen as well, please, right? So it's a little bit more tidier and neater. Now, so the idea is I want to track a portion of my face, right? Like maybe put the grotesque look on my cheeks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pen tool, which is called the X-spline, right? You hold your mouse, or just put your mouse on it. It's called the X-spline. And just try to sort of get some good ideas, or sections, I mean, in terms of a plane, right? Good. And then right click to end the shape. Now hear me out for a second. This is a plane that I'm going to track, a plane on my face, right? If I drew this right on top of my nose is further than my cheek. So it does not make sense to track from this point to, let's say, down here, right? So if you do that, what Mocha is going to do is going to try to sort of balances those two out and come up with a plane that's not going to work. It's going to be floating in front of the face, right? So I'm going to try this, and I know we're not exactly at 0 or at the beginning of the clip, but doesn't matter, right? We're going to now track it forward. And you can see already that it's actually moving the way it should, right? And it does it pretty quick, and does it pretty accurate the first time around. Now I might have added extra points, but because I want it to be accurate as possible, you know, I'm good with that. Next, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hit this button here at the bottom. It's gonna snap to the next keyframe, which is this one right here. So click, and then track backwards. Funny thing is, something's tracking it backwards is more accurate than tracking forward, right? This is why when you do it in Nuke, it tracks both ways. It tracks forward and backwards, and it gives you the best of both worlds to be more accurate, right? So here you don't have to necessarily track both ways. Okay, so now there we go. We have the plane, and I'm going to play it back just so we can see, right? And it's stuck on very good, right? So now we have to make a planar surface, a planar surface, right? So click it once, and you're gonna get a blue square, right? Now this is kind of messy to select. I know there's all these points everywhere, but you'll have to sort of move this out manually and carefully, right? Because this plane is going to represent the size of your of the comp, right? So I'm going to now move it in the same perspective that my cheek is, right? Again, I'm going to move it back a little bit further back. Whoops. So you got to be careful with that, right? Undo if that happens. There we go. I'm going to bring it around this area for the nose because we don't need to go further past the nose. And then this guy here, I'm going to just bring it up a bit just so that I'm matching the perspective. Now I'm going to turn on the grid so we can see it a little bit better, right? If I play it back, that would be something like this. We have to sort of leave it more like that. Something like that, right? That looks more correct, right? And that's it, right? So the blue square represents the area that I'm going to drop a graphic. So all I have to do now is click on save project, right? Once it's done, just close Mocha, and then you can see what's going to happen next, right? I'm going to unlock my layer. Where the heck is it again? Did I lose it? I did call it flesh, I believe. So that's it, right? So I'm going to click the full clip, and you see the Mocha stuff here. Open up the tracking data, and the first thing we're going to do is this. We're going to create track data, and this is the layer that we use in Mocha to create the X-spline tool, right? So I'm going to select that, hit OK. If you don't select it, then it won't do nothing, right? So that's important. The next step is to go right to the bottom where you want to export it to the flesh layer, and that's it. That's all you have to do, those two things. Hit apply export, and there it is, right? Simple. The flesh layer, we're gonna now right click and apply it to pre-compose. We're gonna add to a pre-compose, right? And we're gonna leave all this stuff in this comp. So the default is okay, just hit OK, right? And now we can open up this comp. There it is. Next, what we can do is, what can we do? Yeah, we can go into the projects and find that lettuce, right? And here it is. Drop it and then scale it, right? Turn off this layer because we don't need to see this flesh anymore. Blue, it shows blue because that's the composition color, right? So if I go back here, see here's the blue, but I can change it back to black. This way we don't get confused, right? And then hit OK. If that's the case, right? And now, so we have a lettuce. We can actually exaggerate it even more, right? In fact, we can even stretch it a bit. And check it out on this comp, zombie, right? So there it is, right? So now what we can do is use something like masking, right? So let's look at the effects controls. If I turn off the corner pin, it'll just snap it back to how it looks inside the flesh comp 1, right? Turn the corner pin back on, and it goes back to my face, right? So simple. So having it like this at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and use a pen tool and just sort of draw out some areas, right, that I want to use or steal from this lettuce, right? I don't want it to get cut off, right? But again, mind you, I'm using the Mac touchpad, right? So and now I can go ahead and turn this back on, and there it is, right? So my eye, obviously, it's caught into the lettuce, so we can actually fix it. So we can actually grab this point and bring it down, right? And then move up, move this down as well, and then this can be moved down also, right? I'm going to try to get that shape, right? And then also bring this closer. Oh, you guys get the idea, right? So this is the bottom of the lettuce. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit, because then we can use the feather tool. So right here, there's a feather, and click a point out, right? And you'll see right away it draws quite a lot feathering, but you can control it though, which is cool. So now I can go up here, and I can design now the feathering in some areas where there's more in other areas, right? So you can even go negative as well, right? Just to blend it. Now I can go ahead and turn off the solo, right? And we can change now the color of the lettuce. I know it's funny, it's just a lettuce, right? So it's called, this is it, flesh, right? And color correct it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to match it to the room temperature. So for that we're going to need let me see. First off, two color corrections. Hue and saturation, and we'll use also under color correction tint, right? So the tint, the way it works is you match two colors. You match the darkest area of this room or near me, right? Because the colors are going to be depending on my color here. So I'm going to go with that black, and I'm going to pick, like, let's say the nose area, like one of the whites here, right? So now it's making this look more into that area, right? Colors, in the range of colors, right? I can bring down the mixture, the tint amount, right? The hue and saturations I'll put on top, and then I'm gonna use also a curves now that I look at this, right? So curves, because we need to cool it down a bit, right? Ooh, that's pretty cool too. But I want to sort of create a skin, right? A skin that appears sort of blotchy, right? In those areas. I can also manipulate the opacity on this layer, right? And then I can also adjust this. Oops, that's a wrong layer. There we go. This is the one I wanted to. This is the one I wanted to adjust. So I'm trying to like get rid of some of this black here, if I can. There we go. Right, I actually had to just bring down the highlights so that this doesn't overpower this color. Like the whiteness here is not overpowering this white, right? So it starts to look like it's part of my skin, right? Look at that. Nobody's ever gonna know that we're using a head of lettuce, right? We're using something organic to start making something to look realistic, right? Right, so now we can go ahead and do this once more. I did put a hue and saturations, but I don't know if we need it. We could add, oh, actually we are using it a bit, right? So yeah, there we go. So now it's making, we're blending the tones of the skin, right? So that looks pretty good. We can also use another lettuce as well, right? So let me use the other picture, but I'll use it on my chin. So I'll go back to Mocha, right? And you see here's a layer 1. I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to hide layer 1. So now it's gone. Right now we're going to go ahead and pick the chin area, right? First I'm going to just pick the best exposed area. I guess at the first frame is fine, and select my chin. Actually, do I want to do it? No, I'm going to do it like this, because the lips do move as well. Yeah, sure, we'll include the bottom lip. Right click, right? Then track forward. And usually the first time around it does a great job, right? Yeah, I have to figure out what's going on with my PC. Oh my god. I have so much work to do on top of that, man. I can't be bothered with reformatting, but if I have to do it, right? Okay, so it's almost finished, and it's looking great. Right, I'm gonna play it back and forth just to test it out. Yep, so it looks good. Now we have to design the planar tracking. So I'm gonna just make it a little bit big. For now, right, we're gonna grab something like this. It doesn't make sense to select stuff away from the track because this is not tracked, this area. So I'm just gonna bring it down to just above of the lip, and then the chin, right? There we go. That looks good, right? I'm gonna play it one more time. I'm gonna see it with a grid. I think we need a little bit of perspective just to match the angle on my chin. Maybe not too much, just a little bit, right? So if you look at the nose, right? So that means that we have to rotate this guy like this. So it makes more sense. Alright, so I'm gonna save it now. And now we can close this again. And then we can now do the same treatment. So the next step is to make a new layer, a solid, right? I'm gonna call it F2 or Flesh 2. I have to name it like that because if I hit some buttons, it stops my capturing program. Right? I'm gonna place it above the other layer, and I'm gonna go back to my Mocha and then go to the tracking. I'm gonna go to select the third one, right? This third layer. Hit OK, and pick the new layer F2 and apply. There we go. And so now F2, we're gonna right click and pre-compose it. Hit OK. Double click this guy and go right to, where is it? I think this is one up here, right? So we're gonna apply this. I'm gonna drop it here. There. we can turn off the bottom solid and just kind of over exaggerate the size of this, because I like these little holes. So I'm gonna flip around too, right? Just because I like the shadows pointing the other way to match my video, right? Yeah, so let's try that and see what happens, right? So I'm gonna go back to zombie, and I'm gonna move it up a bit. That looks good, right? So now we're gonna use the same effects that we applied. So what we did is we got rid of the white, right? So F2, solo it out for now, and then turn on or turn off the corner pin, and then pick the mask. So I'm going to select only the green stuff. And turn it back on and unsolo it. Right, and now we can adjust the mask so that it's only showing in the actual face. We have the top here, which is for the lip. So I'm going to bring this in more. Same with this. Right, and at the bottom here also we are going to adjust this area, because remember, again, we can feather it, right? So we'll use the feather, mask feather, and then we can bring it inwards, outwards, right? And then fine tune some of the areas so they're not, some of them more overly exaggerated, and some are more contained. Right, and then the colors, that's what we're going to do next. So this is the easy part. If we select minus this color pin up to the curves, copy, right, and paste. Control V, Control C, Control V, right, and it'll start matching exactly, right, what we did before, right. Right, so it looks kind of messy there. But it's pretty cool, right? We can see if that's the blend mode that we used. You just see this, yeah, that's normal, okay. And obviously, because of the different image, we have to adjust some of the settings here. Add a little bit more red, I guess. Not too much, just a tiny bit. Curves as well. Right. And now all we have to do is play it, right? So obviously the eye still has a little bit of problem, but we can definitely come back at the end and fix that. We can also do one more thing for the eye, and that is of course track that area, right? So Mocha, and I'm gonna turn off this gear, because if this is turned on every time we solve a tracking, it's gonna solve layer 3. So now we're telling you we're good, we're done with it, so don't solve this anymore. I'm gonna turn it off as well, and now I'm gonna go ahead and just pick the eye area. Right, and right click, and then we're gonna go ahead and track it forward. So that's a bad thing right there. See how it moved? Then if I put blood or anything in that nature, then it means that that's going to move also. And so it's going to create a bad look. So, all I did is went back to that same keyframe and expand it, because this part is bone, right? All of this is bone, so this doesn't move at all, right? So we'll try it again. So in theory, that area should not move when the eye blinks. And let's see if I'm right. So the eyebrows move, and that's fine, right? Or the forehead, right? Okay, so we're tracking it forward. And then we're gonna go ahead and track it backwards. We're gonna draw a planar and make it nice and large, right? So this is gonna look something like this. I'm gonna try to match the perspective also, because right now this is not the right perspective for the eye. It's more straight on almost, right? When you're drawing people, or you're modeling in ZBrush, you're always looking at the shapes, the planes, the shapes, as opposed to the overall look, right? And that way you're gonna match it more successfully. This is the same principle, right? So I'm gonna close the Mocha now. Then I'm gonna go ahead and make a new solid. I'm gonna call it blood, right? And just hit OK. I'm gonna pick full clip, pick that layer, then Mocha, so layer 4. I normally name all of these in Mocha, but again I'm having that problem with my screen capture. And then blood layer, and also apply, right? And there it is. So let's go ahead and convert it to pre-composed layer. Hit OK. Go back to Mocha, or sorry, project, and pick one. Like we'll pick the splat, right? So I'll double click blood, drag and drop it, whether into the timeline or the comp. Thought I selected it. Okay. And then turn off the original layer. And of course, we're gonna just grab this and push it out like that, right? So let's go back to zombie. There it is. And what we can do is use a blend mode such as multiply or darken, right? You can just go through some other blend modes. Multiply is pretty cool. And then we can definitely adjust the intensity, right? Right? Okay, now we're gonna do one last Mocha, but this time around I'm gonna use Google Chrome, right? So I'm gonna use let me see, I'm gonna go ahead and look for skulls. What the heck? Google search for skulls, right? Skulls. So here's definitely image search, and I'm gonna try to find one that sort of matches my perspective, right? Like this probably could work, right? So more something like that too. Let me go ahead and something close to my face, right? So I don't know, I'll just pick this, then right click, save it to that same folder where I got my other images. Week 11, and there it is, right? So it's a JPEG, small, I don't know, but it should work, right? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna import it into this program. I see that there's a skull here, right? And then the next stage is make another solid. As for oh, I hate this. Okay, so as for skull, hit okay, and then of course we're gonna go back to Mocha. Not sure where that came up, but we can actually use something like this. No, we're gonna make another one. What the hell, right? So we're gonna turn off that, and if I wanted to sort of use some of the information, I can actually apply it to the other side of the face. Then track forward. And it does a really good job, right? That's awesome. Okay. And then backwards. And now that it's finished, what we're gonna do now next is again the planer, right? And I'm gonna turn the grid on so I can see exactly something like this. Bring it up a little, right? Change the perspective a bit. Something like that, and then play it back. That looks good, right? Save it, close it, then assign that as a track, then pick. I'm gonna pick S, apply, there it is. Double click S, go back to the projects, bring the skull. Oh wait, my S has to be into a pre-composed layer. Apply, double click the S, grab the skull. Oops, where'd it go? Can you actually do that? Okay, no you can't. Okay, there we go. And I'm just gonna turn off the layer above, and then you gotta remember that we only want half the skull. So what I would do is I would actually do something like this, then bring it in like this, and then like that. Remember the nose and stuff like that, right? Because right now if I look at it through here, see what I mean? So I have to move it up now, right? And then move it out. Or stretch it out. Okay. Also we can make it a bit wider as well. Okay, that looks good, right? Just needs a little bit of rotation, I think, and I think we're getting close. Okay. So we have to move it a little bit out, that's all. Okay, so let's say something like that. I know this is sort of inconsistent, unless if we go back to Google, find a little bit better image, perhaps maybe not at an angle, but maybe straight on. Maybe let's see if that works, right? So something like this, and we'll save it. Well, that's too small though, so we'll definitely go with something a bit higher res. There, this is good. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So I'm gonna save this, save it as a JPEG inside here. Import it. We'll go back to this guy. Turn it off for now, just in case we don't like the new one. and we're gonna flip it around. Actually, no, we'll leave it like that, right? So we want to see more of the eye. As close to the edge, and then we'll see it in through the zombie comp. Yeah, it looks better, way better. Needs to be a bit smaller, but it's gonna work out better. And then we'll move it up. Oh yeah, that's gonna work out beautiful, right? And now we're gonna and now we have to definitely adjust the scale just a tiny bit, right? A little bit more. That's good enough, right? For now, that's perfect. We can use the mask and sort of shape it as well, so it's not a big deal. So now we can take the pen tool, and then we're gonna take the mask, right? So I'm gonna solo this out for now, and select that layer. Go to the effects control and turn the corner pin off. Zoom out and start basically tracing this. Right, and then actually I'll go on like this. And then just ignore the hole in the nose. Show some of the teeth. And there we go. Reveal it again. And now we can blend it even better, right? Using, of course, a mask. And then we're gonna use color correction and feather and all that stuff. And so what we're gonna do now is use a feathering real quick. We'll go inwards as opposed to the other way around. And then we'll need to color correct this guy also. So we'll need something like the hue and saturation. We'll go with the tint first, then hue and saturation next, and then we'll need to apply something like curves, right? So for the tint, once more, we're gonna go ahead and pick the darkest color around the area that the skull is by, right? And then same thing with the highlights. Well, we want it to be somewhat more yellow, but can't pick the background because it's too far. Unless for some reason, you know, if you want to use a background, right? But now you will have to change the color, right? More to white as well. I don't think that's gonna work. So we'll try this again. I'll go with my skin. Or maybe something like this. That could work, right? I just don't want it to look like too much like paper cutout. So we'll add some saturation to give it more of that same sort of hue in the room, right? More yellow, a little bit of yellow. There. And we can also use the curves to darken it or brightening it up. And then play it. Right? All right, so this is obviously this is because of the corona. I'm just kidding, right? I do have one more blood, but that's easy. That's probably the easiest we're gonna do. So with this one, I'm just gonna use the first track, this one here, and I am going to make one more layer. All right, so I'm gonna make just call it B for second blood. I know it doesn't make sense. And then in this particular layer, we'll pick the B, apply it. So now you'll see this being applied. Pre-compose. Hit OK. Go to that pre-compose and bring the new blood. Turn off the B and adjust the direction of this guy, right? So I'm gonna rotate this. And then scale it out. And then when I see it in here, you'll see something like that. Once more, we're going to play around with the blend modes. So multiply looks like it could work. The problem is that it looks too flat still, and that's we have to sort of play around with maybe a curves on that same layer. That's a little bit better, and also the opacity. All right, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial, right? I mean, the only thing that it needs now is making a new composition, and this comp's gonna be 1080, right? 1080. So here we go. 20. We can keep it at here we go. 24 is fine, right? We can always change it to 23976. Hit OK, and then drag the zombie comp into this new comp. So obviously you're going to notice that it's a little bit wider, right? But that means that we can actually move the composition at the beginning. We animate the position to make a sort of a dolling, or panning, and then we're going to move it to the opposite way, right? And with a little bit of color correction, I'm going to throw in an adjustment layer. Oh, sorry, my bad. So it's different here on the Mac. Okay, so I'll just do it from the pull down menus. Adjustment, color correct, right? Color correct, and where is it? Lumetri colors, right? So I'm gonna use the creative, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pick Gold Rush HDR, just so it kind of color corrects it, right? Right. So I mean, that's just one color correction. You can do as many different color corrections as you want. I'm gonna go with like a noir, black and white, right? We can also pick our own our color, their LUTs, I guess, or you can just pick any one of these. Icy blue, right? And on top of that, we can apply like a glow effect as well. I don't know, you can go crazy with the final look, right? And so now I can increase and make it a screen. Just play around with these two settings. Like that, and then exaggerate the blurriness, right? So there's a little bit of a glow effect. It's minor, but it adds, right? Softens it, everything that's brightened. And I'll go back to the Gold Rush. Here it is. Okay, so the idea is to obviously use your own photography for this. So if you have a cell phone camera, take a selfie, take a couple seconds. Mine is only about 6 seconds, and so if you take your own picture, and you can definitely download images to make yourselves into a zombie. And remember, I'm using lettuce, right, to make sort of an organic feel to the zombie. You don't have to find pictures of something already cut up like meat, although you could use meat that pictures from a supermarket to showcase exposure of flesh, right? So it's up to you, right? So what I want to see is I want to see the final video of you guys turn yourselves into a zombie, just like how I did with myself, right? Okay, so that's it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. See you then.